Hello, beautiful souls. This is Masami. I just did the video on the full moon just a couple of days ago, and many of you have been watching it. But I wanted to actually record an update because lots of rebalancing is going on right now during this full moon. And this energy is going to last all the way into the weekends. And I thought it's necessary that I record this because I woke up this morning thinking I have to do a little bit more to support you, as well as share what I have been experiencing for the last 24 hours, maybe a little bit longer as well. So this full moon came with a punch, and it's turning out to be a major turning point in your life, individual life, and a collective life in this world. And there's a lot of this kind of a backward looking energy that this full moon brought with her. So this is going to remind you a little bit of the lunar eclipse in late October. So I do want to go back and revisit that because this full moon has a strong backward looking energy, like I said. And the last very challenging and disturbing, well, maybe not disturbing, but disrupting for sure. Eclipse season energy is still playing out today. And what you didn't process and what you failed to address during the last lunar eclipse back in October, late October. And as I talked about in the program, as well as some of the videos I did around that time, I mentioned that you want to go back 18 years. All this stuff are really getting spotlighted right now through this full moon. So this full moon is drawing your attention, almost like forcing you to face that you have been trying to ignore, or you didn't even know you were ignoring, but you have not noticed, or covering it up. And they are all surfacing. Okay, all these things are surfacing right now, and they are going to continue to surface for the next several days. So, personally, I'm having to face it head on for the last 24 to 36 hours. And it's been quite challenging. I always think if I did not take care of myself, or I wasn't nourishing myself, going to bed at a reasonable time, eating nourishing foods at a reasonable time, and taking care of my own inner being, my physical being, what I have been experiencing for the last 24 hours to 36 hours would have knocked me out. It's been intense, to be honest with you. That's why I needed to make this video, to just kind of share some of my experiences. But maybe, who knows, maybe this will help some of you that are watching this video. So like I said, I have been facing head on with what, right? So it's the unhelpful patterns and behaviors that I have with myself, and behaviors that I have with others that are truly not working anymore. So it's like this matching of my energy with others that's really resurfacing, that is no longer healthy whatsoever. I can tell you this is not a healthy kind of a match made, certainly not in heaven. So those are the things that are slowly coming up with other people and within myself, my own patterns as well. And, I could no longer just ignore it, because this moon is really shining on that, and made me wake up really, even in the middle of the night last night, even early this morning. I couldn't take it in anymore. So I was wide awake. So I'm needing to shed a lot of old patterns right now, because they are being shown to me so clearly. And as I said in the previous full moon video, if you have been giving your power away, or haven't been able to trust your own voice and wisdom, and needing approval or agreement from others, because ultimately you're unable to trust your own power and authentic expressions, then this next 3 days are for you to come face to face with that. Like, this is a gift for me too, even though this is a tough gift to open. It really is. It's tough. And because you are getting squeezed again, that toughness, you're going to feel that toughness, like you're going through a birth canal and you're just getting squeezed, and being asked to face and process and ultimately let go of both 2023 and, like I said in my eclipse video, back to 2005, before you can welcome the Lunar New Year. That's what's happening right now. That's why it's tough, because we're just being asked to seriously process some of these things out and ultimately let go. So this full moon is, to me, the death of the false self and the birth of the authentic self, but not without some major discomfort, which I am experiencing it. We're still processing the what I called 3 R's during the eclipse season. I called it that. So some of you may want to go back and rewatch some of the videos I've done. And I'll put a link to the lunar eclipse video I did in October 26th is when I posted it. So you can learn about the 3 R's. And I'll talk about one of the R's a little bit later here, and also the full moon video I just recorded, because that's going to give you some ways to support yourself. And just quickly, I'm sure many of you remember how disrupting this last eclipse season was, right? Because I kept saying this eclipse season is about one last time. One more time, we need to process this. One more time, we need to go back and process our own patterns. But I'm having to remind myself today that the lunar eclipse impacts about 6 months after the event, all the way up to 6 months. So no wonder some of the old patterns have resurfaced in the last 24 hours. And I feel like I'm like under the 6 months hangover right now. And one of the R's that I am processing is massive regrets. I mean, massive. Regrets are such tough energy to work with. Frequency wise, energetically, it's a very low vibration. But this massive amount of regrets from 2005, even last year, but really deep, deep patterns of things have resurfaced for me. And you know that the regrets is all about the past, right? So it just kind of drags you back. So like I got pulled back in this current of regrets. And energetically, it's really exhausting and draining to be in the form and the place of regrets. And when you're being pulled to the past, 18 years ago, especially, that's quite intense because there are just so many years to process. It's not just 18 years ago, but it's just like consequences of that decision, just unfolding and unfolding. But, I have to say, this is giving me a chance to wake down. And, I talk a lot about not just waking up, but it's waking down and not just about chasing light and the promise of ascension, right? We need to descend in order to know the depth of who you are. So many of you have seen me show this image of the iceberg, and I always do the flipping of the iceberg image, right? So flipping the iceberg happened again for me. And so take a look at this image, not what's on the tip of the iceberg, but what is hidden underneath is really dense. The whole density really is crushing. And it's the yuck and muck that really resurfaced for me through this full moon energy that is coming in. And feeling of being kind of like, yeah, like the crushing of the subconscious minds, what had not been said and maybe what had not been processed or forgiven resurfaced. So I'm sitting with it right now and I'm breathing with it and just really breathing through it, with it. I'm facing it because the subconscious is getting quite illuminated today. And I know that in order for me to process, I first need to recognize what this is that's been shown. And instead of quickly, because it's so uncomfortable to move past it or trying to find solutions, I'm literally just breathing with it. And, I came on today so that I can share what I'm experiencing and also to give support to those of you that can relate to what I have been experiencing. And I thought maybe just 3 simple things that I was coaching myself this morning about, I thought maybe I'll share. So number 1, create meaningful actions that can support your authentic self, starting with tools for your heart that I shared in my full moon video. Maybe I think that's a good start, good place to start because you're attending to your physical body. That's a meaningful actions. And sometimes the meaningful actions are to just sit with the discomfort a little bit longer. Give yourself 90 seconds at least to really feel into it. You can even set the timer on your phone and sit with it for 90 seconds and see what happens in that moment. Maybe the peeling of an onion will happen. Then maybe you have to set it for another 90 seconds and do it again. But do some meaningful actions for yourself. And number two is to build the foundations and the basic structures for your authentic self to be housed. And this means to take extra good care of your physical body, which houses not only the expression of your authentic voice, but your soul. So I know I don't need to go into it much because many of you know that my bookend practices first thing in the morning, getting some sunlight, and go to bed today. So you're not going to bed past midnight. Obviously, going to bed earlier would be better, but these are the bookend practices. Not eating late, taking care of your time when you are setting the time to start to get to bed earlier. So, you may be putting on the glasses that will help you block some of the blue lights and maybe unplugging your Wi-Fi's and things like that. So you're building the foundations to support your own authentic voice and your soul, because your soul is housed by this structure, this biology, this physiology. And number three is to identify what needs to go. And this surprised me a little bit, right? Because usually I don't talk about clearing your space during the full moon, but this particular moon is asking us to finally let go. Let go of the storage unit full of your own memories, stories, and patterns. Like, what stories are you having to, tell over and over and over? What patterns are you repeating over and over and over? What are some of the memories that are just coming up, just bubbling up within you? Pay attention to some of these and see, are you ready to let go of them? I realized that I had not let go of some of this and it really came up. There are reasons why these things came up, which I'm not going to go into details here at all. But I have to be honest, I think I picked up a lot of energies from starting January, working with groups of people. I became so involved in it that I didn't know how to take care of myself. And that's an old pattern of mine. And so that needs to go. So clearing my own space and my boundaries so that my light can shine brightly and even more brightly. So those are the three things that I have for you. Number one, create meaningful actions. Number two, build the foundations and the basic structures for your authentic self to be housed. And number three, identify what needs to go. Okay. So what I have is that today. Thank you so much for watching. Really, I just wanted to come on and be with you, to thank you, and thank you for shining so brightly in my life. It means so much to me. Namaste and happy full moon to you.